other.
Interactions between people. What else? How people affect our thinking, decision making, our behavior. So, let's talk about attitudes. What do you mean by attitudes?
Well, I was going to say your temperament. That's something.
It is related to your temperament, yes. It is related to whether you believe in this or not. Because clusters of beliefs produces attitudes. So let's say if you like President Obama, that is your attitude toward President Obama. Can you change attitudes?
Yes.
Yes. Through persuasion. This is what we're going to talk about, right? Especially now. It's very timely. Election time. So let's say you don't like Hillary, for instance. But because the message was inspirational, it was motivational, you may change your mind. You might vote for her, right? And sometimes people speak in accordance to who are the audience. So Bernie Sanders is targeting the millennials, young people, free education, so everyone votes for him. I'm not going to talk about Trump. All right. And there are different routes through your processing, and sometimes you could do this in the classroom too. If you critically think, you analyze what you're going through, you pay attention, you're more motivated, you're more likely to remember the information, isn't it? And you're more likely to make a better decision than doing the shortcut. That is the peripheral root processing. I'll give you an example. Let's say you're buying a car. You check the mileage, you check the safety, you check the warranty, the price, the reliability of the car. Which one is that? The central root processing. But if you're buying a car because you're going to be attractive to people, you're going to look hot, you're going to be a chick magnet or whatever you call it, that is peripheral root processing. Look at this example. Even in the classroom, those who are highly involved, this is why I just don't lecture. Do you realize that? I involve you in the discussion because you're more likely to remember it than just letting students listen or pretend to listen. Then the learning is not as persistent as the other route. So when you're marrying someone, for instance, you check the health history, family health history, you check the credit history, you check the employment stability of the person. Which one is that? If you're marrying someone because he's hot, peripheral. Okay. So sometimes we are experiencing cognitive dissonance. This is opposite. You like to smoke, but smoking can kill you, right? So it's either you change your attitudes or you change your behavior. So for instance, growing up, you were told black people are bad. That is what was told to you. Now you are in school, and you have a friend who's African American, and he's nice. And then now you are experiencing cognitive dissonance. He's nice, but my parents told me they're bad. So it's either you change your attitude, I'm going to like this person, I'm going to change my mind, or you change the behavior, I'm just going to avoid this person. Did you get my explanation? Okay. That's just an example about smoking and not smoking. Okay. Schemas are cognition about people. We have this innate capacity for us to avoid or like other people, right? Is it innate or is it learned? Learned. It's either you were told or it's either you experienced something bad and then you generalize, correct? Can we make mistakes with this? Yes. So when you are stereotyping, what do? What is stereotype?
Generalizing somebody based off of, how do I word that? Based off of, let's say, society's interpretation of that particular group, as opposed to the individual.
Is it good or is it bad?
Can be both.
It could be both. Stereotypes are good or bad, positive or negative. What is the positive stereotype for Asian?
They're smart.
Smart. What is the negative stereotype for Asian?
Bad
Bad drivers, right? And if you're a woman and you're an Asian, that is a double jeopardy, right? How about prejudice? Is it the same with stereotyping? When you say you're prejudiced,
I think it can be both, can
for prejudice it's always negative. So when you say, oh, I'm going to avoid that group of those people because I don't like the way they speak, that is prejudice. If it's bias, when you're biased, you don't, it's just an inclination of wanting to be with that person, but you don't avoid particularly some other people. You just prefer to be with those people. How about discrimination?
You are against a particular group.
You are acting on your prejudice. Prejudice is a thought, discrimination is an act. And the worst is bigotry because it involves hatred. Okay. And all because we have those schemes in our brain. These are like, these people are like this, those people are like that. Okay, so when you are forming impression, we talked about central traits last meeting, didn't we? These are observable. Did I not ask someone to describe their best friend? Those are central traits, yes. So does first impression last? Does it last? It doesn't last, but it counts. There's a difference between lasting and counting. Let's say, first impression, first day of class. You don't like this person, and then you get to know them. Later on, you learn to like them, you realize. But the danger to that is, if you deliberately avoid being with this person, so you didn't give this person a chance at all. So it counts. So this attribution theory, we're going to talk about that later. It explains our why questions. Why that person behaved that way? Why did I submit to authority? Why do I love this person? Why do I hate this group of people? Okay, so let's talk about that. Sometimes people act, behave because the situation calls for it. And sometimes because it's innate in you. It's more of a disposition. It's not precipitated by an incident. So for instance, before you put your things, as you enter the classroom, you wipe your desk because you saw some spilled water and food there. Which one is that? Situational. But if you do that for no reasons at all, you just want it clean, it is disposition. Did you get the difference? So, these are what we call attribution biases. We make mistakes in seeing other people, in understanding other people. And let me give you an example. What is a halo? What is a halo?
Circle.
It's a circle for angels. Means they are good, right? They're saints, they're angels, they're positive, in other words. For the halo effect, you see something positive and you conclude, oh, maybe she's like this at home. So for instance, you like me. You like me because I'm a great professor. So that's one thing positive that's visible to you, right? When you assume, then maybe she's a great mom. I mean, how do you see that? You're not attending my class in my house. Who knows I'm the biggest BITCH at home, right? So that's a halo effect. Did you get my example? Okay. The assumed similarity bias, we assume right away, oh, I found the right person for me. We have so many things in common. And then after 4 dates, you realize, oh no, what a mistake. First day of class, I like this group of people, I'm going to be in their group forever. We're going to be in the same group until we finish the BSS program. And then after 3 weeks, one drug addiction project, you realize, oh no, I'm going to avoid this person for the rest of my West Coast University life. Assume similarity bias. And then the self-serving bias, this is pretty obvious. You take the credit, you blame other people. So for instance, you got an A in this class, and then you tell yourself, because I'm a genius. Then you get a C minus because she's a horrible professor. Her exams are very hard. Self-serving bias. You're a coach, for instance, and your team won because I know how to motivate them. I'm a great coach. And then your team lost because they didn't practice well. I mean, that's a perfect example for self-serving biases. Now, the fundamental attribution error, this is the opposite of halo. So you see something negative, then you assume more negative traits about this person. So for instance, someone who's always late in the class, that's negative, isn't it? So when you think, maybe she's lazy, maybe she's irresponsible, but who knows, this person is raising a disabled child. You never know that, but we assume right away. Did you get my explanation? Okay. So let's talk about group and how we are influenced by our group. So when you agree that you belong to this 2 or more group of people, you are in a group, right? What do we do with our groups? Do we defy the rules of our group? Yes or no? You usually conform. It's what we call group decision. It's what we call group think. Okay. I'll show you a video about this. So please watch carefully and you'll see why do people conform to group decisions.
So like what we did today?
What is it?
Like group decisions. Okay.
What is it? Did you ask me a question?
I kind of did.
What did you ask?
I said kind of like how we did today.
The test of your...
We had like a group decision on our test. Or...
I have an explanation now. So
Okay, never mind.
Okay.
Sorry.
Visual acuity, your sensitivity to differences in line lengths. So I'm going to show you a standard, and then I'm going to show you 3 comparison lines. One is going to be bigger, one is going to be shorter, and one is going to be the same size as the standard. Your job is, tell me which line, A, B, or C, is the same as the standard. Seems like a simple judgment. You always get it right. But now, before you give your answer, there are going to be half dozen to 10 other people like you in the room, and they're going to give their answers first. An amazing thing happens. One after another, they say the line that you see as shorter is the same as the standard. Shorter, 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 shorter. They don't say shorter, they just say B, 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 and so forth. Now it's your turn. You know B is the wrong answer. But what do you say? In this study done by Solomon Ash, a classic study of group conformity, the majority of people gave in on most of the critical trials to agree with, to say publicly that they agreed with the majority. So this study is one of the first classic studies on the power of a group. As long as there's 3 or more people who agree among themselves that reality is not the way you see it, in many cases you give in to see the world in their way. Let's look at that study.
The experiment you'll be taking part in today involves the perception of lengths of lines. As you can see here, I have a number of cards, and on each card there are several lines. Your task is a very simple one. You're to look at the line on the left and determine which of the 3 lines on the right is equal to it in length. All right, we'll proceed in this order. You'll give your answer.
Only one of the people in the group is a real subject, the 5th person with the white t-shirt. The others are confederates of the experimenter and have been told to give wrong answers on some of the trials. The experiment begins uneventfully as subjects give their judgments.
2, 2, 2, 2.
2. 3. 3. 3.
3.
But on the third trial, something happens.
2. 2.
2.
2.
2.
The subject denies the evidence of his own eyes and yields to group influence.
1.
Ash found subjects went along with the group on 37% of the critical trials. But he found through interviews that they went along with the group for different reasons.
1.
1. They must be right. There are 4 of them and 1 of me.
1. This subject's yielding is based on a distortion of his judgment. He genuinely believes that the group is correct.
1.
1.
1.
2.
1. 2. 2.
2.
I know they're wrong, but why should I make waves?
2.
In this case, the subject knows he is right, but goes along to avoid the discomfort of disagreement with the group. Here, the distortion is at the level of his response.
2.
2.
2.
2.
In the previous experiment, the naive subject stood alone against the group. In this variation, Ash gave the naive subject a partner, here seated in the third position, who also gives the correct response.
1. 1.
2.
1. 2.
With a partner, yielding drops to only 5% of the critical trials compared to 37% without a partner. Although subjects report warmth and good feeling toward the partner, they typically deny that he played a role in their own independence. The partnership variation shows that much of the power of the group came not merely from its numbers, but from the unanimity of its opposition. When that unanimity is punctured, the group's power is greatly reduced. Sometimes we go along with a group because what they say convinces us they are right. This is called informational conformity. But sometimes we conform because we are apprehensive that the group will disapprove if we are deviant. This is called normative conformity. The strength of the normative factor is shown in another variation carried out by Ash. In this variation, the subject is told that because he had arrived late, he would have to write his answers. Subjects in this private response experiment are exposed to the same amount of misleading information as other subjects, but they are immune from any possible criticism by the group.
1.
1. 1.
And this enormously reduces the pressure to conform. Conformity drops by 2/3. Ash's experiment is a classic. It reveals how people will deny what they see and submit to group pressure. It allows us not only to observe conformity, but to study the conditions that increase or reduce its occurrence.
Okay. So, any idea why do we conform to a group? Do you remember who that person is? The one who introduced the experiment? Zimbardo, did you not see him in the video? Dr. Zimbardo is still alive. He is teaching at Palo Alto University, and he's known for his Stanford prison experiment. You remember that video that you watched? And he stopped it because people were hurting, right? And a woman from that group of volunteers was the one who made him stop. He was told that they are all suffering, so he stopped the experiment. After a year, he married her. They're still married up to now for almost 50 years. So, because I'm old, I met him at the APA convention. So, this is what you saw from the video. Why do we conform to our group? What are the reasons? Yes.
I know that if I'm amongst my peers and I feel them all making a different decision other than mine, you kind of feel the pressure increase as more people disagree with you. So whether you feel that way or not, you have to fight yourself for their acceptance versus how you feel.
And sometimes you submit to it because it's unanimously decided. The
Like
decision is
a hearing?
unanimous. Okay, so that's one reason. What else? Where do we conform?
Sometimes you feel like if 4 people are right, then I'm just one against 4 of them, so probably I'm wrong, so I'll just go with the
So that is again a unanimous decision. What other factors that goes with us conforming? Is the hierarchy in the group playing a role? So what is your hierarchy in the group? There are leaders, there are followers, there are the lowest, right? If you're at the lowest in the hierarchy of your group, you are more likely to conform also. And if the task is vague to you, you do not really understand what is being asked, you are more likely to go along with what everybody is saying. Okay. I talked about that already. And sometimes a situation where you are responding, if it's public, you're more likely to say yes or conform. Let's say you're paying for something at a store. What do they usually do? Don't you want to donate on this charity, blah, blah, blah? And if someone could hear you, they're behind you waiting for you, you're more likely to say, yes, sure, why not? Right? Because someone could hear you saying no, and you're worried about what they're going to say. Okay, talk about that already. Okay, and groupthink could be dangerous also. What was written in your book about the example on this? It's a space shuttle. What's the name of the space shuttle? Columbia. Everybody agreed it's safe, right? And afterwards, right, it exploded. So we lost several geniuses in that space shuttle because everyone said it's safe. We did a group thing. But I have an example of a funnier video on group thing. Yes, I mean sometimes when everybody thinks, let's go, it's not
The gentleman in the elevator now is a candid star. These folks who are entering, the man with a white shirt, the lady with a trench coat, and subsequently one other member of our staff, will face the room. And you'll see how this man in the trench coat tries to maintain his individuality, but little by little, he looks at his watch, but he's really making an excuse for turning just a little bit more to the wall. Now we'll try it once again. Here's the candid subject. Here comes the candid camera staff, 3 of them agree. And this man has apparently been in groups before. Now, here's a fella with his hat on in the elevator. First he makes a full turn to the rear, and Charlie closes the door. A moment later, we'll open the door. Everybody's changed positions. Now we'll see if we can use. Now we'll see if we can use group pressure for some good. Now, in a moment, on Charlie's signal, everybody turns forward. Notice they take off their hats. And now, do you think we could reverse the procedure? Watch.
Be careful about experiments like this. There you go. Okay, so you've seen this in the video, and I talked about this already. We tend to be influenced by bad people when we are with them. Even if we are good innately, you mixed up with bad people, you are more likely to adapt to them. So let's talk about compliance. Sometimes we experience this, we just do not know the name of it. So foot in the door technique is from a small favor. When you submit yourself to it, it's going to give birth to more favor in the future. So for instance, election time, if your friend asked, can you put a sticker of Hillary Clinton on your car? And you said yes. Next time, this person is going to ask you to campaign, distribute campaign materials, or make phone calls. So from small favor, when you submit yourself to it, it's going to give birth to bigger favor. You got my example? So, the door interface technique is the opposite. From a big favor, when you say no, they're just going to ask you for a smaller favor. For instance, Addie, can I borrow $1,000 from you? And then she says, no, I don't have any money. Why don't you just buy me lunch? She's more likely to buy me lunch because from a big favor to smaller favor. Did you get the example? Or can you do my article review, Tasha? And she said, no, I'm doing mine also. Just share me with your study guides. Share with me your study guides. So you're more likely to say yes. So be careful about those types of compliance.